Sunday morning in the 1970s. No cars on the street, no footsteps outside. The whole country holds its breath, wrapped in blankets, watching its own clouds of breath in cold bedrooms, ice clinging to the glass, last night's coal fire still lingering in the air. By the 1970s, nearly 80% of British homes relied on those coal fires for warmth. Yet every Sunday morning begins with an unnatural hush, as if Britain agreed to stop time together. But what does this silent pause actually mean for families behind closed doors? And what do you find waiting at the kitchen table? A child lies cocooned beneath layers of blankets, eyes barely open, watching the faint mist of their own breath drift into the still air. The bedroom is colder than anywhere else in the house, with single glazed windows rimmed in delicate ice. There is no hum of traffic, no rattle of the milk float outside, just the slow tick of a clock and the distant creak of floorboards as someone stirs in another room. Outside, the street remains empty, the usual weekday bustle replaced by a silence that feels almost sacred. Bodies stay curled under heavy covers, the chill biting at noses and ears, slippers waiting at the side of the bed. In many homes, only the kitchen promises warmth, the rest of the house left to shiver until the fire is coaxed back to life. The smell of last night's coal lingers, but now something new begins to drift through the house, the faintest trace of bacon, barely enough to rouse anyone from their nest of warmth. On Sunday, there is no rush to move, no alarm to answer, just the slow fade of dreams into the hush of a world pause. For a few moments longer, comfort lingers, and the day waits quietly to begin. Steam fogs the kitchen window as the first sausages hit the pan. The sizzle and pop of bacon and eggs drift through the house, drawing everyone closer to the warmth. Sunday breakfast is never rushed. It is the one morning when the whole family gathers, elbows nearly touching at the table, plates piled high with fried bread, beans and thick-cut bacon. The smell of strong tea mingles with the scent of cooking, and someone tunes the radio to a gentle hum, perhaps family favorites or the quiet chatter of a local presenter. No one eats alone, even the quietest child finds a place among the clatter of forks and soft laughter. This is the week's biggest meal, a proper English breakfast that stands apart from hurried weekday toast or cereal. Mothers move between stove and table, orchestrating the meal with practiced hands, making sure every plate is filled before sitting down herself. There is a sense of occasion, even if no one says it out loud. The radio offers stories and music in the background, knitting the family together as they eat. For a little while, the kitchen is the warmest, most important room in the world, and the outside cold is forgotten. After breakfast, the house shifts into a quiet bustle. Shoes are polished until they shine, laces are tightened with care, and children are handed neatly folded piles of their best clothes. There is a clear difference between what is worn for school, for play, and for Sunday. Out come the scratchy jumpers, wool trousers, and dresses with hems let down to last another year. Collars are buttoned right to the top, sometimes a little too tight, and sleeves are rolled down even if they still reach past the wrists. Stiff leather shoes, sometimes a size too big, are forced onto reluctant feet with the promise that they will be grown into soon enough. Mothers fuss over every detail, straightening ties, smoothing skirts, tugging at sleeves, making sure everyone looks respectable before stepping outside. Even families who never set foot in church keep to this ritual, knowing that a proper appearance matters as much on the street as in the pews. Clothes are chosen for durability, handed down between siblings, patched and mended to stretch through lean years. The discomfort of a too tight collar or itchy wool is part of the memory, a small price for the pride of looking one's best. In every home, the transformation from everyday wear to Sunday best signals that this day is set apart, a moment when thrift and respectability walk hand in hand. Sunday morning feels like a different kind of day, the whole street holding its breath in a quiet, pale light. Front doors close quietly along the row, one after another, as families step out together into the morning. Shoes shine with fresh polish, collars itch, and gloved hands fumble with hymn books. The air carries the faint tang of coal smoke, mingling with the sharper scent of carbolic soap from last-minute scrubbings. Across the street, neighbours fall in line almost without a word, some nodding, some murmuring a greeting, all moving in the same direction. There is a hush that hangs over the pavement, broken only by the distant clang of church bells echoing across rooftops. Even the birds seem subdued, as if they too recognize the importance of the hour. The walk is slow and measured, a ritual in itself. Children trail behind, their shoes stiff and unfamiliar, adults keeping careful pace so everyone arrives together. Passing shuttered shops and empty bus stops, the group grows as more families join at each corner. For many, this is less about faith than about belonging, being seen, being part of the same weekly procession. The church stands at the heart of the neighbourhood, its doors open and the vicar's voice already drifting out, faint and formal. Inside, the air is cold and still. The smell of polish and damp stone fills the nave, mingling with the waxy tang of candle smoke. Coats are unbuttoned, hats removed, and everyone settles onto hard wooden pews that creak under the weight of Sunday best. The service is long, voices rising and falling in familiar hymns, the vicar's words echoing off stone walls. Children shift and fidget, legs dangling, while grown-ups bow their heads in silent prayer or quiet reflection. The ritual binds everyone together, week after week, a shared observance that stretches back generations. Afterwards, the walk home is quieter still. The bells ring out once more, fading into the distance as families drift apart at their own front gates. The street returns to silence, the only trace of the morning's gathering, a faint echo on the cold air and a lingering sense of having taken part in something bigger than oneself. As the afternoon faded and dusk crept in, curtains were drawn across streets from Liverpool to London. In living rooms up and down the country, the ritual began. The television set, a boxy presence in the corner, was switched on and left to hum softly as it warmed. There was no instant picture, just a faint glow, a buzz of anticipation, and the slow bloom of light on the screen. Only 3 channels waited behind the glass: BBC One, BBC Two, and ITV. The limited choice meant that millions tuned in at the same hour, their evenings shaped by the same schedule. Families gathered together, sometimes squeezed onto one sofa, sometimes perched on the arms of chairs, everyone facing the single set. The air was thick with the smell of Sunday roast or the last traces of coal smoke, but all attention was drawn to the flickering images. For many, the day's first programme was a black and white film or a war movie, chosen as much for its familiarity as for its entertainment. Later, the gentle strains of songs of praise drifted from the speakers, hymns echoing the morning service or filling the quiet for those who had not gone to church. Television was not a private escape, but a communal event. The nation watched together, parents, children, neighbours across the wall, laughing at the same jokes, moved by the same scenes, sometimes even singing along. There was no remote control, no recording, no second screen to distract. If you missed a show, it was gone until the next week, and the shared experience became a topic for Monday's conversations at school or work. The unity was not just within each home, but stretched across the country. In that hour, millions of living rooms glowed with the same light, tuned to the same voices. The broadcaster's accent, measured and reassuring, became part of the household, a familiar presence as the sky outside darkened and the rest of the world seemed to pause. Sunday evening television was more than entertainment. It was the nation breathing in time, a gentle crescendo to the week's slowest day. Today, Sunday rarely stops the nation. Shops stay open and screens never rest. Yet those slow rituals, once enforced by law, shaped how families connected and how they remembered. As pace replaces pause, the question lingers. What do we lose when no day is set apart from the rest? Share your memories below.